You're tuned in to the Dakota Housing Network on SuperTalk 1270 and SuperTalk1270.com. In-depth discussion and analysis of real estate issues nationwide and those issues unique to our area. Our team of experts includes Joe Sheehan, Greg Larson, Dave Floor, Brian Ritter, and a great variety of guests. The Dakota Housing Network begins now on SuperTalk 1270 and SuperTalk1270.com.
Hey, welcome to the Dakota Housing Network. This is Joe Sheehan with my co-host,
Greg Larson.
And Mr. Housing on special assignment. We believe there is a government hot tub party somewhere.
I think so, yeah.
So we always accuse him of whenever he's not around. Of course, he always comes back with some sort of legitimate excuse for being gone.
Yep, he always comes up with one.
Which is really the big conspiracy. Yes. All right, well, we are going to get going with the economic update. We don't have the interest rate report out today. So we can't tell you what the Freddie Mac primary mortgage market survey is. Rates trending worse right now due to some stronger economic news than average. So lock them if you got them. If you're comfortable with your payment, our advice is always to take advantage of the interest rate in front of you versus the two in the bush. You ever seen two interest rates in the bush before?
No.
Yeah, me either. It just sounded like
I'm not sure I want to.
It just sounded like the right thing to say.
There you go.
But then, you do that, and then it just comes off like the right thing to say.
Right.
Like I was saying.
Is there a censor?
Anyway, in the financial reports, economists at Citi are writing that a global recession is now the most likely outcome over the next couple of years. The reason why this is important, there's a lot on the line here, Greg, for you. There is a lot on the line for you because as those of you who have been following the show know, big bet. There's a big wager.
Big wager.
Big wager, and
I'm the payee.
You are the payee, the trustee, the payee, the beneficiary. For the first time, and one of the things we're really proud of on this show is back when it was Mortgage Talk 101, since 2012. Has it been since 2012?
Yeah.
Since 2012, Dave and I have been lockstep in our interest rate projections, and we have actually been saying that interest rates could go lower. In fact, one of our proudest moments on the show was at the beginning of 2014 when we said that we felt like interest rates could be in the threes still in 2014. And, of course, that just in time, Santa Claus comes through and delivered those 30-year fixed rate interest rates just below 4%, right in the threes, right at the end of the year. And for the first time, drum roll, Dave and I disagree about what the Fed's going to do and what's going to happen to interest rates next week. Dave predicting the Fed is in a position where they are going to have to raise interest rates next week. I sticking with the same drum beat. Because, clock's always right twice, right?
Yep.
And I'm saying that the Fed can't afford to do it with a global recession on the potentially on the clock for some of the economists or on the radar for some of the economists. It looks like the wind's slowly bending the grass in my favor. And also along with that, yesterday the World Bank chief economist urged the U.S. Federal Reserve to not raise rates. So we'll get to that part in the rest of the economic update before we get to our...
But the most important part of that, Joe, is the loser has to buy me lunch. And I don't know, I'm not sure how that worked.
The loser has to buy me lunch, And the good thing is, though, Greg, you know what? You're like feeding a bird these days.
Everybody wins. That's true.
That's true. It's going to be an unwitch. It's going to probably be an unwitch over...
Yep. Look at a picture of a burger.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get to the market guidance from Mortgage Market Guide. Mortgage bonds drifting lower, which of course means that rates are actually ticking up. Boosting stocks was the news that the Chinese government will look to strengthen fiscal policy, increase infrastructure spending, while speeding up tax reforms, which rallied its Shanghai stock composite overnight. In addition, Japan's Prime Minister Abe also vowed to shore up its economy, which pushed the Nike 225 to post its largest one-day gain since October 2008. The Dow was up nearly 400 points yesterday, and the U.S. investors are looking to build on the rally today. Hey, good news. China starts spending money. You know what that means? That means lots of bobcats, lots of Ingersoll Rams, lots of cats, lots of good things for the U.S. economy. And you understand why it's challenging, why that's challenging interest rates and bonds as people are starting to fly to stocks with the idea that the Chinese are going to become a big buyer in the market for industrial goods if they're going to start building things again. So that definitely builds a case, though, unfortunately, against me. It really is a teeter-totter.
It is.
Which way are the rates going to go? Because if there's some signs that the U.S. economy could experience any inflation or uptick, Fed's going to be tempted. All right, there are no major economic reports. Yesterday, the World Bank chief economist urged the U.S. Federal Reserve to not raise rates next week at its regularly scheduled two-day FOMC meeting on Wednesday and Thursday. This comes after the IMF also urged the Fed to not raise rates in September. To bolster that view from the IMF and the World Bank economists at Citi are writing that a global recession is now the most likely outcome over the next couple of years, which we talked about. Technically, the Fannie Mae 3.5 30-year coupon is hovering near support at the 25-day moving average, blah, 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 which just means, hey, there's good news out there that are challenging rates right now, but long-term picture, rates probably aren't going anywhere fast, which is good for North Dakota because what was it I saw on oil today? I saw something. 45.53 a barrel, down 42 cents. As some of the boom in the boom,
there you go,
kind of comes out of our market with oil prices being down a little bit as companies restructure. Of course, low interest rates are good for housing in North Dakota as we try to get those service sector buyers up into housing who have been underserved and give them a chance to be able to afford the payments and buy into the housing. This is some of the people who are here on special assignment for drilling or maybe moving out of the state. Opportunity to pick up those houses, make them affordable, and keep them affordable so it should help keep the market stable for us. Despite a global recession, North Dakota benefit from low interest rates that come from that kind of activity. So, hey, anything you got to add to?
Well, a couple of things. You're hearing people saying that the housing market is going down and it's off and prices are coming down. Well, year-to-date, 2014 and 2015, year-to-date in Bismarck, the city of, let's go region, outlying towns, rural Bismarck, rural Mandan, city of Bismarck, 893 homes were sold in 2014 by this time last year.
That's one or two.
By this time this year, 855 homes have been sold. So the market is...
Wait a minute, that's
a tick down.
Yeah.
4% down.
4%.
4%.
Okay.
Housing sales in Mandan are off 4. In Bismarck, they're off 4. They're up rural, and they're off in outlying towns. A couple of reasons that would be is because inventory is being sold. We didn't do a lot of winter building, and so that fires it up. But that's really offset by the big total is 7% average list price up, 7% average sales price up in 2015 and 14. And so our trend of increasing value in our homes is continuing at a reasonable rate. It's not outrageous. It's not too low. So even though the number of units is off, the quality of the market is still very strong. And then, that's that in a nutshell. And then, Joe, I think we're going to have to institute Bug Watch.
Bug Watch?
Bug Watch. Last week, we talked about the termites and the FHA requiring inspections in the 5 northwest counties because in 1963, some bug scientist found some dead termites. And so now they're requiring some termite inspections.
And why was he out in the middle of the woods?
They were studying ants. I'm sure it was a federal grant.
I gotta be honest with you. We might have to come back to that in one of our last segments, but I have not heard that FHA is requiring.
Yeah, it's coming. We're working on it. We've been talking with folks. I've gotten more phone calls off of that segment we did last week than anything else I've said on this show.
Well, I'll be one of them because I haven't heard. Our underwriters are delegated underwriters for FHA, and they haven't anything on the radar for that.
Well, it's those counties. So here she comes.
All right. Okay, well, I'll be good. Well, we're going to come back from the break, and we'll be with our friends Quality Title and Brad Belleroot and Donna as they tell us a little bit about title insurance and give you some information on ways to protect the value in your home as well as your ownership rights. So right here after the break on the Dakota Housing Network. And welcome back to the Dakota Housing Network with Joe Sheehan.
Greg Larson.
And our friend Brad Bellerud here with Quality Title. And we're going to talk about title insurance. How are you doing, Brad?
I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Before we get started here, tell us a little bit about Quality Title, who you guys are, where you're at, what's going on, what you really do.
Well, basically, we've been in the community for 3 years now. My father and I started the business in 2012.
And before that, he was a croquis champion, correct?
Almost. Basically, we've been in the community for 3 years, and we've been doing. I didn't know you were going to ask for this stuff, Joe.
Just keep going, man. Tell us all about Quality Title.
So, we're your local title company, and so we promote local business here. And like I said, we've been in the community for 3 years. So anything that we can do to basically educate the consumer out there of what best fits them and why they need title insurance and why they need a title company to do the closings on or a refinance, any way I can do that, I try to do that and get out there and help educate people.
Well, and we're going to talk about what title insurance is and why people need it and how you guys offer it. But tell us, 3 years ago, why did you start Quality Title? I mean, what was the reason for opening up a title company in Bismarck?
Well, we felt there was a need because of the service. We felt the service was lacking. We felt there was definitely a need to get out there, give another choice for the consumer to be able to who because they can choose who they want. The buyer, it's the buyer's choice of which title company they want to use.
And so, what do you? So, in terms of service, what is it that at Quality Title you focus on that's different than other title companies in town?
Well, basically, I guess your turnaround time. We can do deals within 48 hours if it's a cash deal, if there's no lender involved. Just to basically answering the phone with a smile. We believe in taking care of people, and we believe in the local economy here.
Okay. All right. Well,
I can tell you as a realtor, they have the best coffee of the quality.
Well, there we go. When you're looking for title insurance, paired with good coffee.
You go in there waiting for a closing and you can get Keurig, it's a deal.
Absolutely. So it's not only good coffee, but it's make your own.
There you
Choose
go.
your own while
Yes.
you're it's be your own barista, as we like to say.
Well, one thing I'd like to add, this winter here, we're actually doing a promotion where we're going to be giving back to the community. We're going to be promoting local business in the community, and anytime you do a closing with Quality Title, you'll be getting a $50 gift certificate for 12 local vendors in town here.
Nice.
And that's one thing that we like to try to do to give back and to give back to the consumer and to the local people that do business in town, and business in Bismarck-Mandan area.
Well, that's fantastic. Okay, so let's get into what title insurance is. People get title insurance a lot of times when they're refinancing or they're buying a home. Give us just the basics. What is title insurance?
Basically, title insurance protects the real estate owners and lenders against any property loss or damage they may experience because of liens, encumbrances, or defects in the title of the property. Each title insurance policy is subject to specific terms and conditions and conclusions. So basically, it ensures that your property has clear title.
And I care about that why. So it does. Is there like title acne? Like I got clear title. What do I care if I have a lien? What does that do to me if I wind up with a lien or some of these things that you list on here, defects? What do those do, and what does insurance help me get out of if I have those?
Well, there's the lender's policy that ensures the priority of a lender's security interest in the property for the amount of the mortgage loan, which is where you come in. And an owner's policy protects the buyer's interest in the property. In the instance that there's no lender or mortgage on the property, only an owner's policy would be issued for title insurance. So basically, a lender's policy is going to protect you, and the owner's policy is going to protect the buyer.
So, but what happens though? So, let's say I have a lien. Let's say I have a lien on my house right now. How does title insurance help me with that lien?
Well, when you do the closing of the property, if there is a lien against your home, we're going to make sure that the lien gets paid off.
Okay.
That's basically what it amounts to. If there's any judgments, let's say the seller has the judgments against him, those judgments will also be taken care of.
So here's the deal. So if I'm buying a house and the seller has liens against the property, either they did something bad and got sued, or somehow somebody filed, they got a loan they didn't pay off, and somebody filed a judgment against them. What you're making sure is that once I own that house if there was any mistakes regarding that stuff, it's not going to be my fault. I'm not going to have to deal with it.
Correct.
So it protects me. So when you mean clear title, what you mean is when I take over a property, you're guaranteeing that that title is clear from other problems the people had before me. Is that
correct? We want to make sure that anything that when the buyer owned the property, when the seller owned the property, that when the buyer takes possession of it, that they can't come back and that there's no defects on that title.
This is important. So, because let's say, for example, Greg sued. Let's say Greg's got a house and he got sued, and I don't know. You got to again. Jeez. And so Greg got sued again, and so do you have a judgment? And I go buy your house, and for some reason, let's say I buy cash, and I don't pay, and I don't get title insurance, and somehow that got missed, that Greg didn't pay off this judgment. I actually would have to pay that, right?
Well, yes, you would.
And that's so what you guys do is make sure that doesn't transfer. So without a title company involved, I would actually have to pay off his lawsuit if I wanted to actually own my house.
If you wanted to own your house have a clear title on it, because when you go to sell the property, if that lien from the previous owner is still on there, in order for you to get clear title, you would have to then pay that lien. So
one of the things that we like to do is we like to give out advice on this show. It's one of the things we like to do because we kind of know it. Well, we knew something.
We pretend.
And as soon as we remember what we knew,
we're
going to tell you. So if you're one of the things that's really popular out there, especially with a lot of the oil money that came in state, is cash buyers. And if you're involved in a real estate transaction where you're getting a loan, like Brad said, you don't have to worry about the title company. There's going to be one involved because the lender is going to require title companies involved. But if you're a cash buyer, it really behooves you to not make this a do-it-yourself deal. It really behooves you, cash buyer, no matter who else you have involved, make sure you involve a title company, because how else are you going to know? And if you make a mistake, well, now you're self-insured. Sorry.
Yep.
But if they make a mistake and they don't catch something that happened, you've got this insurance policy to help make sure that you still own that property, clear title. I think that's important to get to.
For the buyer, the only way to protect them, so they'll get either an abstract, which is just a history of the transactions of that property, or they can buy the owner's title insurance. The only way that they're going to have any hope of having someone pay their lawyer to settle the deal is with owner's title insurance, unless they're going to pay it out of their pocket. Yeah. And you don't have to be in this business long before you hear about that.
Yep.
Or someone really got burned.
Well, we got 1 minute left in this segment. We'll bring Brad and Quality Title back for the second statement, where we'll talk about the different kinds of title insurance. We talked a little bit about what it covers, and we'll get through even what a title search is, maybe, and that's a little bit what you're alluding to. So, Brad, tell folks out there, if they have questions about title insurance, want to know about how to get your title company involved, how do they get a hold of you?
Basically, you can call us at 701-204-6145, or you can email us. Our webpage is www.qualitytitleND.com. It's important, Joe, that, like you said, that we educate the people, because when they go to the closings, the one thing that they see, the most expensive part of a closing, is the title insurance. So it's always nice
I'm the most expensive part of their closing. The lender.
I'm the most expensive.
The realtor is the most expensive. Greg wins.
No. We don't.
Oh, funny. So you lost, Brad.
Yeah.
Well,
you lose. So you're buying lunch.
Yeah. So after the break, we're going to bring Brad back with Quality Title. We're going to talk more about title insurance, what different kinds there are, why you should have it, what else it does for you, here after the break on the Dakota Housing Network. And we are back in the Dakota Housing Network with Joe Sheehan
Greg Larson.
and Brad.
Hi, Brad.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome back to our next segment. Okay, we've been talking about title insurance, talking about how important that is. Even if you're a cash buyer, something you should do is call a title company and get them involved for lots of reasons. Brad, tell us about what title insurance covers.
Basically, when there's a lender policy, it covers the lender's interest in the property. And when there's an owner's policy, it covers the buyer's interest in the property, such as hidden standards as mistakes in recording of legal documents, forged deeds, releases, or wills undisclosed, or missing heirs, including spouses, deeds that are executed under invalid or expired power of attorney, and most important, fraud.
So here's the deal. One of the things I know, you and I have, Greg, you and I have heard this a lot. There's these ancient documents, these ancient scrolls around here on properties, and they date back to they date back to BN, right? Burlington North.
Well, actually, my abstract goes back to the Bentine shipping lines.
You know what's funny? What's funny is one time I was talking. I asked Chad Wachter when they got the deed signed by Sitting Bull. And he said he had to check into it.
Yeah.
Because his family had owned land so long around here. I was like, so hey, what did Sitting Bull sign over? He's like, oh, I have to check into it. Ask my dad. Which his dad probably wouldn't appreciate that. But yeah, so there's these ancient scrolls on properties. We call them abstracts, right? So what Greg and I will hear all the time is, well, I don't need title insurance because I have an abstract.
Yep.
So what's your response to that as somebody who sells title insurance?
Well, basically, there's only 3 states left in the union that even allow abstracting. North Dakota is one of them. It's Oklahoma and Iowa. Title insurance basically insures the property that you own from title defects, and it insures the buyer. It gives us protection. So, I mean, there's a reason why title insurance is overtaking abstracting, because it's better for the lenders. It's better for the buyer also.
And so, Greg, you as a realtor, you go to list. You're going to list a house. You're going to help somebody sell their house.
Yes.
You'd rather see an abstract, or you'd rather see title insurance?
Well, I'll tell you what. I would much rather see title insurance because it's so much cleaner in the closing, and it's much easier to get an accurate title opinion with title insurance. The other thing is, it used to be that updating an abstract is a lot cheaper than title insurance. That's not so true anymore. They're kind of a horse apiece. It's going to cost you as much to now the seller has to update the title insurance if they have it, and then you're buying the new policy for the lender and the owner. But if you have an abstract, there has to be an abstract opinion filed with the county and all of that, and by the time you get that done these days, it's as expensive as buying the owner's policy.
Even with everything isn't everything digital now, electronic? But
not in abstracting. They're still going to the county and flipping through them.
Really?
Yeah, in most places.
So, because labor's cheap.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's lawyers or their
okay.
lawyers.
Right. And then you got to get an attorney's opinion.
It's a fee. So
right. So okay. So if you have here's the other thing too. I've actually had some instances where those like I said, these big ancient holy scrolls on the property, they get lost. People die, don't know where the safety deposit boxes are. They were in a box. Someone thought it was a good idea to put it behind that loose board.
Personal experience, your lawyer dies and it's not in his office where it was supposed to be.
Yeah, because he put it behind his board at his house where he thought it'd be safe. Anyway, so then what happens is I've had to replace some of these. You can't do anything with them without them. So we've actually had customers who, just to refinance their house, have paid as much as $2,500 because you have to recreate it from entry one. So, Brad, what happens? Let's say I can't find my abstract. I know it's going to cost me a ton of money, but what if I have title insurance and I can't find my abstract?
Well, basically, in order to write title insurance, you have to have a title opinion on a prior abstract. And once there is title insurance written on it, then we no longer need the abstract. So it's beneficial once you get a title policy to keep a copy of that for us. And because once we have that copy, we can write title insurance off that forever.
So I mean, there we go.
Yeah.
So I mean, you as a realtor love to see title insurance.
Yeah, we do.
We can recreate an abstract. That's not a problem. We have a title plant right on site that to recreate the abstracts, get an opinion again off of that in the instance that you do lose your abstract. But like you said, it's very expensive for us to recreate that. Once we write, and then we can write title insurance off of that. Some people, again, depending if there's a lender involved, some people decide, well, I just want to have a title opinion off my abstract, and they're fine with that. But when there's a lender involved, such as yourself, they're going to require that there's a title insurance policy, and then that's when we can write title insurance.
Here's the thing about insurance. I mean, I hate paying premiums. Nobody likes paying premiums. So I go buy title insurance, and I got to own this house for 30 years. I mean, how do I pay for title insurance? How does that work?
Well, title insurance is quite a bit different than like life insurance or auto insurance. There's a one-time premium that covers the life that you own the property. So if you own it for a year, it's good for a year. If you own it for 30 years, the title policy is still good.
So I mean, you got a one-time premium that you pay that essentially makes your abstract obsolete. It's not that you don't want it around, but if you lose it, you're not going to be out any money. And in the end of it, realtors like it. I think we can say that almost universally. Makes the transition a little easier in terms of that. And on the outside of it, it protects you against any flaws in the title or anything dumb that the previous owner before you might have.
That's the biggest thing realtors like about title insurance is, we're part of the team, title companies, lenders, appraisers. We're all part of a team of getting someone into their home. We're kind of the front, if you will. And so what happens is if there's an issue and they don't have title insurance and they come back to us, why didn't you tell me this could happen? Yep. And we want to make sure we can say we did, and we always recommend title insurance.
Well, this has to be outrageous. I mean, it just has to be this got to come at mafia prices, an arm and a leg, right? I mean, what's the average title policy price?
A Lincoln.
The title insurance policy rates, it goes off your purchase price if it's a owner's policy, or it goes off lender's policy is going to go off how much more money that you borrow the buyer. The rates, they're all different. It can range from $300 all the way to $4,000. I mean, if you purchase a couple $1 million piece of property, your insurance policy goes up, and that's because of the risk involved. The more risk that there is, the higher the policy is going to cost.
Can you say, like, for example, just on the average $200,000 loan in Bismarck, what's the likely owner policy going to cost?
$325.
Let's see. Like 0.001% of the total loan amount in terms of cost of protection.
That's pretty close because we tell them to figure about 0.0015.
It's 0.001625.
Yeah,
is what that came up to.
Yeah,
so you're protecting yourself against the risk of compromising a $200,000 loan amount. That's not the value. I said loan amount. Let's say the value of that home is $250,000, $275,000. So your overall equity value in terms of previous encumbrances, dumb things somebody might have done before you, the abstract ability to transfer that property with ease to the next person when you want to sell it, which that's where the value matters most. I mean, 0.01625 one-time cost. Wow.
Yeah.
And all the rates for each of the underwriters are actually recorded at the North Dakota Insurance Commissioner's office.
Yeah, so it's not like it's not like quality's charging way more than another company or quality's way lower. I mean, this is a regulated industry.
Right. And it's important if you're going to be doing a lot of transactions to keep a copy of your title policy. And it doesn't matter which title company you do the closing with. If you do it with us, we can honor reissue rates, which saves you money also.
So if they did their title insurance at a different company last time, but they decide they want to use you because they found out about your service, that's not a problem.
It's not going to cost you any more money. It might even save you some.
Well, Brad, thank you so much for coming in the show, educating us on title insurance. And Brad Bellroot at Quality Title right here in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in. And we'll be back after the break. Goodbye.
Welcome back to the Dakota Housing Network. I am Greg Larson and your champion host,
Joe Sheehan.
King of the Lenders.
That was monarch. I have established and maintained the monarchy for some time now.
We have decreed.
Yes, I posted the radio show decree henceforth. No, good segment. With Brad.
Good information. And title insurance is important.
Yeah, it really is.
My own personal deal. I do have an abstract that goes back to 1824, I think, when the Benteen shipping lines, which that's the paddle wheelers that came up here.
Was it even a territory then?
It was the Dakota Territory, and it was still the Lewis and Clark deal. The Louisiana Purchase, and I think it was at that time all Louisiana Territory. But that's when the Benteen shipping lines got the sides on either side of the Missouri River.
That's right, because you're close to the river.
Right.
So a lot of properties that goes back to the railroad.
Goes back to the railroad.
Because the towns.
1860s, 1870s.
Because all the towns started on railroad land around the railroad.
Right.
But I guess I haven't looked at a lot of river properties, and they're...
Well, most of them have gone to title insurance because literally my abstract is about 2 inches thick.
Oh, absolutely. So, probably about a $4,000 document.
Yeah.
A great segment. Again, if you want more questions, you can reach out to the folks at Quality Title if you have more questions, and as well as tune into the show. It's on YouTube, podcast, on supertalk1270.com. All right, let's talk about this termite thing we brought up earlier. I gotta know. Let's give me the background, Greg. Tell me the scoop. Give me
Here's
the scoop.
Here's the deal. The North Dakota Association of Realtors office. We're all things real estate. We represent the realtors in the state of North Dakota. They got a call, we're probably 3 months ago now, from a realtor in Williston saying, have you heard anything about needing termite inspections, and where do we go to get them? And we said, no, we don't. We haven't heard that, so the office started looking into it. And you need to understand, I'm the state president. I don't work in the office. I'm a full-time realtor. So it's the folks in the office, the staff, predominantly Jill Beck and Nancy Willis, who started chasing this down, and they started looking at it, and come to find out, in 1963, some folks are studying ants, as we talked about, and they found some dead termites, and was noted in a study. Then, I don't know how they picked it up. Somebody picked it up. Termites in North Dakota. And if you look at the U.S. Forest Service, and they're the ones who do the studies and that kind of stuff, they've got a map, and the U.S. Forest Service has this map. And parts of South Dakota, and then there's a strip up along Montana that runs along where there's a slight to no risk or slight to moderate risk of termite infestation. It kind of just ticks into North Dakota a little bit, but it's termite infestation. They picked that up, and now they're saying there's a potential of termite infestations. You need inspections, and that's how it came out. We started looking at it. We called the U.S. Forest Service, and they kind of were a little confused, and nobody can really give us an answer why they decided that they need to do these inspections. But it started to pop up now on certain underwriters where they're saying they are having a termite infestation inspection required. We're saying it's ridiculous. We've gone to the North Dakota State University's Extension Service. They're saying, I don't know that there's ever been a live colony of termites found in North Dakota. I do know that in the 60s, some of the lumber came in from the southeast. That's when they were still cutting lumber there for framing, and it could have come that way. But it can always come in on a box, or they can get here. Mm-hmm. Some kind of shipping, but they don't survive a winter. They don't. Mm-hmm. They don't establish a colony. And since then, I've gotten a lot of calls. People saying, "Well, I know there's termites in some part of the country, state." The fact of the matter is, there are 1,000 different kinds of termites. There are some wood-boring insects that are of a related species that will get into some dead wood and bore into it. They're not the kind that attack and destroy houses. They're not an official termite, so we don't have any live colonies. I did talk to an entomologist, and he said that, well, they find them around, but they're never an established colony. He said, however, they are now parts of South Dakota, as I said, are moderate or slight to moderate risk. Termites seem to be moving north slightly as they adapt to temperature and stuff. So probably within about 100 years, we'll have termites in North Dakota if the climate stays the same and, that sort of stuff. But
and termites adapt.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're at, but it's just one of those things you got to look out for.
Wow. Yeah, that that would change the lending process.
Yeah. One more inspection.
It'd be another inspection. It'd be another great service that our borrowers would have to have for a lender.
Yep.
That would be understaffed and take too long to get.
Yeah, and like I said, there are no certified termite inspectors in North Dakota. So,
Right. That's exactly my point.
Yeah. So where do they come from? What do you pay them to walk in, shine the flashlight in the basement?
It'd be like getting an engineering report on a manufactured house.
There you go.
Well, and actually
that'd be easy.
That'd be an easy comparison. Well, but I mean on one that's existing, already established.
Right.
But I mean, Gary Dorr has actually always done a really good job in service. And there's a couple of them around.
Yep.
He's one of them I know who's really done an outstanding job of doing engineer certs on manufactured homes. And but still though, I mean, if he tripped or stumbled, it'd be you could wait a long time.
Yeah.
All of a sudden.
Yeah. Well, the North Dakota Association of Realtors, we're trying to make this go away before it becomes an issue.
Thanks. There's so many things going on out there, folks, that you don't even know about. That's why Greg's such a great addition to the show as a co-host, is because there's so many backstories constantly going on. And things that just we take for granted as we move around our daily lives and think about things like home buying and stuff like that, and just even all the work, we had the title company in here, all the work you did on the Good Funds Law.